FCON DC 608 member, also Black Hills Information Security community leader, and I'm on the news team. I think down in the bottom corner, just one of them, like on the news weekly from their newscast. I'm also a pinball wizard, so I've been setting high scores and competing for pinball cups and stuff like that. I also want to say that it's like I don't necessarily like the who am I humble brags, but this is more just to kind of inform you of the depth of experience. And when I talk about like intelligence, I have access to a lot of information, a lot of intelligence. The newscast is great because that really puts you on the spot for talking about latest breaking things, having discussions with others, and it really just feeds back into my day-to-day job as cyber threat intelligence, going, okay, well, we just talked about this on the news with some of the professionals, so now I can inform my leadership, or vice versa, that sometimes I inform my leadership, so then when I'm on the news, I'm like, I just had a discussion on this earlier. So as for my employer in the financial industry, the company that I work for, we provide the financial dashboard to a lot of big Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. So we have customers such as Amazon, McDonald's, Discord, on and on. We also have some that, like, small countries that have their treasury is through our financial dashboard. And it's, when I say dashboard, it's just showing where all of the money is at. So for Amazon, no, Jeff Bezos doesn't keep all of his billions of dollars in a vault and swims around in it like Scrooge McDuck. Nor does he have it all invested just in Amazon stock. So when the CFO of Amazon goes, hey, we need to move money around so we can close on this deal, build a new warehouse, they need to see positions of money, where things are at. So obviously it's a very tempting target. Work with them sometimes saying, hey, we've seen a threat, we've seen something hit us, can you help out? So we provide a little bit of assistance to them as well. So the things that I'm going to go over today, kind of mixing these in, going to talk about obviously cyber threat intelligence, some case studies, how things are evolving with using advanced AI to evolve, like social engineering and phishing attacks are now no longer your regular phishing attacks. The demos I'm going to show you like deep faking fast and free, so that hopefully a lot of you would be able to come away being able to show how easy it is to do these deep fakes, so that it's not just all bluster. I'll talk about some attack simulations and detections, and then have those takeaways of just some actionable intelligence. So for like the threat landscape growing, and really just how intelligence, and I don't necessarily want to make this like just a specific AI talk, but you see that it's like when COVID-19 hit, you saw the cyber crimes jump up. These are the numbers that we saw, jump up 300%. I'm sure that's the same for your industries. And then likewise, war in Ukraine, those also jumped up, so we saw a spike there, but you saw like the biggest spike was in the phishing attack when ChatGPT came out. So it really just enabled people to move very quickly into evolving their phishing campaigns, and have some slides on phishing in a bit. Talking first about the value of cyber threat intelligence, they'll provide afterwards as well. Just really showing like the impact that having the informed decisions, informed purchases, looking at your risk from the perspective of informed threat intelligence as well, has a lot of impact for an industry, and these are kind of the numbers speaking the business talk for your leadership. Faster resolution of security threats, and you can identify what's going on a bit more rapidly as well. I do also like building from this slide here, where it talks about that, intelligence versus information, that your data feeds that are never read, reports that are never read, are not intelligence. And when you have this information that is, it can be like dead on accurate, dead on informational, but if you're not delivering it to the person that can do anything about it, then really what's the point? And then I kind of look at that a little bit in the reverse is true, that if you have someone that can make the decisions, you kind of owe them that information. And I was discussing earlier, and making a reference to CrowdStrike, the CrowdStrike incident. A lot of people wanted information and intelligence on that. If they're not a stakeholder, you don't necessarily owe them any sort of explanation. Yes, VP of sales may be all up in arms about, hey, CrowdStrike caused some downtime, they want answers, but in the midst of a crisis for like that intelligence, you really don't owe that department much of anything. You owe that to the stakeholders, the one that can do something about it, the engineering teams, the IT teams, your leadership, the ones that make purchasing decisions for those tools. You owe that intelligence to them, not necessarily to everyone. It's a courtesy to keep them informed, but it's also one of the things where you have to look at, are they a stakeholder, and then provide the appropriate intelligence for that. And that's also, I really recommend the Threat Intelligence Handbook from Recorded Future. Gives a lot of information for getting up and going. So, breaking down like actionable intelligence, I thought there were just like 3 key parts here. And I thought of putting this into just kind of gamifying it here and also doing a little bit of a sound check. That sort of worked. Now I'm a bit concerned. I'll try that again. Okay, well that's concerning. That's not really working. That's why I put the sound check in. Anyways, for actionable intelligence, and I may just process this through the computer instead when we get a bit further along. Does anybody want to try to solve the puzzle as to what the 3 key points of what actionable intelligence is? Yeah, so it's information that's been processed, prioritized, and delivered to stakeholders. So, yay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and just power this off and try to just crank the speakers on this. All right. So, talking about some real-world attacks and some case studies here. So, again, talking about phishing and just evolved phishing. This is one of the scenarios that we saw from threat actors. So, they impersonated a user, and in this case, it was a legitimate user. So they were impersonating Mark Schulte, the senior director at WebEx, and Mark Schulte is actually the senior director at WebEx. So they built a LinkedIn profile. They also used a Microsoft account for them using WebEx client instead of webex.com. So they did their diligence there. They also did, speaking to open source intelligence and really doing their homework, they built a virtual phone number that was for the 650 area code in Los Altos, California, where the real Mark Schulte lives, and had that phone number forwarded to the threat actor as well. So if you called that phone number looking for Mark Schulte, threat actor would answer it as Mark Schulte. So it all kind of lined up there as well. How they leverage that is for our company, they requested a demo. So it kind of was a way to get around the traditional, like sending an email. They requested a demo. They filled out all the stuff saying, hey, I'm Mark Schulte. The company I'm with is WebEx, the senior director of finance, and they wanted just kind of a demo from us as well. So they listed the impersonated name, the email, which was WebEx client versus WebEx. Most people wouldn't know if that was a legitimate email of theirs or not. Submitted all that information in order to get a demo. So our business unit representative reached out to them. They get this form filled out saying, hey, this is it. We have some preliminary questions to better understand. WebEx is a subsidiary of Cisco, which is a really big company, so we want to direct you to the right team. Like, do you have revenue above or below $500 million? And getting that response. So this was, again, the threat actor getting us to engage with them. The requirements link was sent where they say it's like, okay, in response to our previous question, yeah, we're a subsidiary. We run separate, a bunch of other information. They say, okay, do you have a few time slots in mid-August? So they had, they didn't necessarily have like that sense of urgency. They go, okay, well, can we just set this up for a talk? Want to get this on our CFO's calendar? Again, nothing really alarming. And they have like the, here's our requirements, because the previous email asked about, PDF. So they go, it's like, okay, can you take a look at these requirements? Also at this, they provided the, because the requirements document had a lot of proprietary and confidential information, they provided a password in order to access it. So then, following the requirements, you go, okay, still seems pretty standard. Getting a SharePoint site with the requirements.zip included in it. Requirements PDF, that opened up just fine. So it was a PDF that opened, rendered, here's all the information, project sponsor, Mark Schulte, project manager, here's our objectives, stakeholders, cash management, all of this stuff is listed out. Note that the judges section of Icarus smiling here is like, here, what has been going on in the background? So in the background of all of this, though, is you have this execution chain here. So they had it decrypt with the password. Again, they provided the password saying, hey, proprietary information. It grabbed like a PDF.link file, so not really a PDF. Did that download of the file, reached out and waited until the user launched Microsoft Teams. So then the payload hijacks that and calls out to their command and control domain. So this was running in the background. Luckily, they crafted this to target a Windows machine and the user was on a Mac. And also, we don't use Teams, so even if that had been running in the background, they would have been waiting a while going, when is this guy going to start up Teams? Well, we don't use it. We caught it, we isolated the computer and the impact, but like this is the best case scenario for an attacker and a phish. Like this is how they want to get it to land. Through all of this, though, it's like one of the takeaways that I have is this slide here. So you go through and we educate our end users saying, look for all these things, you look for the unexpected attachment. When we do our campaigns through like Know Before, or if you, Fish Tank, some of the different organizations, you say, okay, we're going to put together like an unexpected attachment. Like you're not expecting this thing. You craft them in there saying, the typical sense of urgency is saying like, you need to fill this out in the next 2 days or your account's going to be suspended. No, they didn't have any urgency. They're like, hey, we want to set up a meeting with the CFO, like maybe in the next month or so. No strange links. Went to a SharePoint site or went to webxclient.com. Sender wasn't unfamiliar. It was actually the CFO. So if you did your due diligence saying, okay, somebody's contacting me, who's this Mike Schulte? You look them up on LinkedIn. Yeah, they're the Mike Schulte on LinkedIn, and in that position. Email address, it wasn't some random bunch of numbers for the domain. It was webxclient.com instead of webx.com. It wasn't unexpected emails because it came through like the demo portal. Like that's what it's there for, is for customers to request a demo. They didn't have the request for sensitive information. They weren't asking us to provide them anything sensitive, saying, hey, go out and buy some gift cards, send us your social security number, send us all this other information. They weren't asking for that. And it didn't have the poor grammar and spelling. And I've seen the poor grammar and spelling as one of like the top things that people want to pull out. Like when you craft these demo emails, you go, oh, well, we have to put in some spelling errors so that it gives our employees a chance to identify phishing. And even recently, it's like I called that out when we, at my employer, we had like a phishing contest where people would create their own phishing emails and we would pick some of the winners. Just about every one of them said like, oh, I put in a bunch of poor grammar and spelling. And it's like, that's not how they're done anymore like that. But you have to kind of break through that if you get an email and you go, looked good to me, has no spelling errors, this must be legitimate. So it's one of the things to keep them up and informed on. So I think one of the next things I'm going to talk about jobs. So we started seeing this with our engineering team, again, with what we do in the financial industry, that we're part of the financial dashboard for some of these big companies. Having a threat actor get on the engineering team, that's going to be a extreme win for them. But we had a scenario where a guy came in for the interview. The first time around, like we had some connection problems. We go, okay, maybe that can happen. He was Asian, again, this was the first time he was applying for a Polish position. Wild things happened, though. So he was answering questions. He looked interested. We asked about his citizenship and so on. But in this instance, we moved on to like the technical interview. And on the technical interview, like continued to have some problems, some poor internet connections. They were wearing some headphones at home. There was some background noise that made it all suspicious. So that's when it was, kind of flagged by some colleagues saying this seems really strange. So that started in this summer. We are now at a point of about like 1 to 2 applicants per week that are doing this. They want to infiltrate. And it's also in like one of these like odd edge cases because you get a lot of them that they're applying for engineering team in Poland. They're Asian. We have like repeating scenarios where they say, okay, well, my father was Japanese and my mother was Polish and I'm a Polish citizen, but I'm a Polish citizen that doesn't know how to speak Polish at all, which is a requirement for citizenship. So we go, okay, there may actually be like a Japanese Polish in Warsaw that doesn't know how to speak Polish, but there aren't the degree of like hundreds of them applying at a rate of 1 to 2 per week. So some of the items that have their inconsistent work experience in universities to where they go, okay, well, you're from Japan, you studied at University of Toronto, now you're over in like Warsaw. Why do you want a job in Poland? Why aren't you getting a job in any of the places where more than likely you speak the language? So we could detect them. I think a bit of a known before hired a threat actor. So that was one of the big stories that came out this year. They had an open position. The individual went through 4 Zoom interviews. They did the background checks. Once they issued that laptop, they had the suspicious activity was detected immediately. And then also they had that stock picture and the AI fake picture, really just to line up with what they were expecting in the meeting. So these were well organized and state sponsored, and they had some extensive resources. Great. These are all some good stories. I think recently, though, for how do you inject some intelligence into this? What do you do for defending against these types of things? So there's something that came out recently. They all use the same VPN infrastructure when they're trying to connect in, when they're trying to apply for jobs, when they're trying to hold these meetings. So they use this Astral VPN while applying for the remote positions. That's cool. We have a list of like 2,400 IP addresses that are associated. There's a list here, and then you can just kind of set up your logs to look for people using those IP addresses. We just had like the Astral VPN fraud CSV. That's kind of a quick and dirty done over the holidays of like this is what we're going to search for to see if anybody's in there and trying to reach out to us. But it is a way of having, again, that like informed intelligence for dealing with threats. We did also add one more role-based training for our HR team. Let's see. Let me get this.
Why do they all use Astral?
Probably that. I don't have an answer for why they all use Astral. I would just be speculating, but it would likely be one that they can get set up and approved. VPN.
People's VPN.
Yeah, the people's VPN. Glory to internet.
People's Democratic.
We all share one IP.
Share one IP. It's all.
All right.
Yeah, we'll get the more. We'll tell you which port you can use.
Democratic Republic, which is usually the worst off the country.
All right. So I was just looking at. Hopefully, I can boost this volume loud enough, or we'll work on things a few different ways because I think that's probably just all of the Bluetooth and speakers that we're getting confused here. All right. So for some of the advanced threats, again with like AI and social engineering, the threats have evolved with. There we go. The threats have evolved with artificial intelligence, which is no surprise. But they have some of that accessibility and scale that enables the attackers to launch some large-scale campaigns. So they don't need to be a technical expert in order to launch a phishing campaign. Some of these also, they have that seamless translation. This has been impactful for us because we have employees worldwide. Now, some of these employees would be in places like the Netherlands. They don't get a lot of phishing emails in their natural language, but thanks to evolution of AI, they are now getting phishing emails, and they may not have encountered those before. And it may have been kind of an easy mode for them whenever we do the phishing campaigns, going, oh, it's one of 3 emails I get per year that are in English. So, yeah, sure, this is a phishing email. So it has those translations, and it's a bit harder to have our employees defend against. They were also sophisticated and polished. I think, as seen in one of the examples, the earlier example, is that it didn't have the spelling errors. It had a lot of the same natural language, and then also AI generated fake websites and links, so they make sure that the websites and the links all line up. You can get some websites, things to kind of backstop your story if you're trying to set up some phishing. It makes it much more of an investigation to find out about a website. So, and then also have some advances in deepfake technology, and we'll get to those in a bit. All right, so for deepfake technology, we're getting a lot of voice messages that are now being sent emulating the CEO. So they'll just flat out send a voice message, saying, let's see here.
Confidential matter that I am currently working on. Please let me know when you will be available to join us soon.
Yeah, this does have an aux cable. So it does sound kind of robotic. I was going to say that the voice isn't as clear as the technique I'll show in a bit. Yeah, every voicemail you've gotten. But also, for a lot of people here, I think I could even ask this of the audience. Do a little ask the audience here. Let me try that again. See if that's going to come through the right speaker. But how many of you know what your CEO's voice sounds like? Yeah, that impresses me. I kind of know. I spend a lot of time copying her voice, but if I get something close enough, that would fool a lot. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to play that again as a sound check. I know I have 6 seconds of silence in there.
I need you to assist me on a confidential matter that I am currently working on. Please let me know when you will be available to join us soon.
That sounds good. Better. So, I mean, they've mimicked the voice. They've also, again, done their homework to where at the beginning, they were having the phone numbers come from areas that our CEO wasn't at. We're a global company, so her calling from a U.S. number wasn't lining up. They did eventually catch on, so the threat actors have started to figure out what area she is in. So they have the phone number and the name of their target as well. So, when they contacted people, a lot of times we're also starting to see these at employees' personal phone numbers. And we got a lot of the questions how do they know our personal number? I'm like, oh, let me introduce you to this fun little thing called OSINT. Your directory, did HR get hacked? No, HR didn't get hacked. And it took me 5 minutes to demonstrate that too, for them to be here's your phone number. It's is this your phone number? Because it's listed publicly right over here. It's not that tricky to to find, but it does also open up a conversation just on like operational security and going, where are you leaving all of your information? If you have that scattered all over, adversaries are absolutely going to be able to find that. Let's see here. So you can do this too for the voice cloning. So it's for free. I'm going to show you how. So you find a good voice sample. I used some voice sample from a YouTube of a conference presentation. This was outstanding because the conference has you hooked up to a really nice microphone. You have the sound very isolated. You don't have a lot of background noise. It is just your voice for hours. So you can kind of cut that down, trim it down to say, okay, well, I'm going to do this where there's not a lot of audience applause, not a lot of other things going on. So I trimmed it to around 8 minutes of just them. Now these models, you've heard, they can only, they can do this with only like 30 seconds, sometimes even down to 3 seconds of audio. I had a script ready to go as well, so I had like the, type words for what I wanted it to say. So here we go though, in kind of showing the site, that play.ht. It'll let you generate an AI voice for free. You're going to have to just log in and give them like an email address. So just use your email address, a random one, whatever, log in. Created a voice clone. I just did the instant one where it was only 30 seconds. Didn't need anything real high fidelity. Set it to English. I had a voice file ready to go. It doesn't show the window of me selecting the voice file. So I just upload that high quality audio sample. Lie about having permission. I did lie about having permission here, but I hope the person will forgive me. So I had that just named as Ryan Z. From one of his many CypherCon talks. So it has like voice clone successfully. You saw how quick that was in order to sort of start building that model. This is where I go and I try that sample script to put in. And go to generate it. So you have to play a little bit with the words as well in order to get the voice to come through just fine. What is it doing? I think it's the Bluetooth that it doesn't like. No, turn off the Bluetooth. Bluetooth, bye.
I have another speaker too.
I think it's just wanting to do like Bluetooth too. You got one that you can just plug in?
Yep.
I'll do that for... I stole this from my wife, so I had no idea what it was, what state it was in. I was just like, oh, I could use a speaker, and it was like not charged, and it looks like it had been like, I don't know, I think it had been used like in a game of football or something.
Do you have USB-C?
But just USB-C with an aux?
Yeah. I think it's just USB-C as the input.
Yeah. Right there, just have them read it on the screen.
No, but I'm going
It's
to...
so lifelike. Yeah. It's like he's here.
Really, this was just a giant play on social engineering. Not gonna say.
All right, let's see if I... All right, let me get... Can I seek to move forward? It does not like me for that. Otherwise, I have the audio sample separate if I need this, but this again. Just pipe it into that.
Well, let's see if this one works.
We'll see if this one works.
He wants to know if it actually works.
Get the AI generated voice to do my job.
I know he's like,
Oh, I have the audio
don't
cable
work
here.
anymore. I can just send this to them.
Just gonna use AI to generate his next talk.
Yeah, oh my god.
All right, and then I'll just unhook from there, and we'll just have it coming up from here.
Yeah, make sure to have it all the way up.
I got it.
Below the windows.
Yeah, crank that soul to you.
Oh, wait, my volume is down.
Alright.
Took my gas. Maybe?
Well, yeah, we're about to get it. We're about to get it.
Okay.
Generating.
Almost there.
For DC 608, I just wanted to let you know that for 2025, as leader of DC 608, I want to say you all are awesome.
See, you can tell it's fake. He would never say that.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary.
So, and there are some sliders that you can do, because it's like that was just really from like the first unadjusted out the gate going, okay, this is what, this is how it adjusts the timing, do a little bit of tinkering. But the other thing I'm going to show you is like how to get kind of an unlimited amount for free. So I say don't download it from the clouds. Use the tool that was almost banned, the F12 key, to just open up developer mode, because you're allowed one free sample from this site. So if you hit the little cloud button, you get your one. But if you just open up developer mode, you can just keep grabbing the WAV files over and over again. So I have made so many voice clones for free off of this.
You are not getting sponsored by
I am not getting sponsored by them. Brian, let me know if you get like a cease and desist for this or like a takedown notice. Because like, so again, you just
Wouldn't that be ironic that we complain about the ceiling?
yeah. So you can do all the tuning, and you can effectively like when you adjust the different speeds and I think what was it, like the speed and enthusiasm of each sentence or each section, you can sort of start stringing those together in order to get stuff. So it doesn't show like the other items that where it where it does successfully download. But I did some tinkering and I had like a final result there. So I think I'm going to be really happy if this comes through the speaker.
For DC 608, I just wanted to let you know that 2025 as leader of DC 608, I got to make you understand. Never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to run around and desert you, never going to make you cry, never going to say goodbye, never going to tell a lie and hurt you. Now is when you give Alex a big round of applause.
So that is just what's possible with some tinkering. Again, you just needed to use some phonetics, some tricks. Like I used like DC 608 and had it spelled out like that. You used a little, what is it, like the ellipsis for pauses, whatever the fancy word is, and that was the result as it came out. So now a bit onto like the deep faking of videos. I was going to create a full video. Didn't really have the time for that, but I wanted to go through like just for like our CEO impersonation. I had a colleague that we used her as the input. We used that photo that I just found off of the web and used like the face fusion tool that's linked below. Now I do also have a PDF of resources, so that'll be included in there. Run this on your local machine. Again, same as before with like the voice tools, that this is free and it can be done very quickly. Now your threat actors, they have much more time to do this. They have much more, resources and money at their disposal in order to do this. Each of these were things that I could do really inside of an hour if asked to do so. So the free tool from the internet. One of the other things that I wanted to call out from this, and I'm not really going to go down that path, but when you install this on your own machine, Face Fusion does have like a module that does the checks for anything not suitable for work, so that like you're not creating pornography with this, but you are installing it on your own machine. We, as hackers, kind of understand what that means if you just change some Python code. So it is one of the things to bring that awareness that, yeah, that can be done, with a tool that is controlled locally. Do not encourage anybody to do that, but it's the awareness that like threat actors can absolutely do that as well. So a bit of the configuration in here, again, like on the far side, just the starting photo and then the output photo. A bit of the configuration in here. We had a little bit of fun. I made sure not to record this, but I had this on the call when I was working with my colleague, is that you can adjust the size of the smile to have it be very small or very like Joker-like. I expanded that out for like our CEO to have a very Joker-like smile, and if that recording made it out there, I'd probably be unemployed, but the things that you can do for like just adjusting those, adjusting makeup, because you can go, okay, let's make that smile a little bit, a little bit slimmer, make the teeth a bit more prominent in order just to match up with the photo as well. It also has the ability, this is something that I'll probably play around with next, is it does have a module where you can just like stream this through OBS. So that would be something where you could just kind of have that live overlay of somebody else's face to yours. So it also, I was able to just kind of have this resynchronized with like some lip sync, bunch of modules in here. But I also noted it's in the, kind of in that central section there, that had a processing time of 260 seconds. So like really inside of 5 minutes, I get that video creation. And then, can spend another 5 minutes just tuning it again and again with iterations in order to get it close to where it should be. One of the things that I did with this, and it's like a tool that I use, that a lot of people use with trace labs when you're trying to identify people and doing that face comparison, is I go, okay, let's take that output photo and just, the one with the, green and blue stripes in the background, that's the official photo. It says it's a 96% match. Now, granted, that's still image to still image, but your face recognition tools are going, the two photos are of the same person. Now, when you play the video, there's like if you know it's AI, there's a slight bit of that uncanny valley where you just kind of know something's not quite right here. Again, free, 5 minutes, and you can take the tool and the instructions yourself and run through it for how you would like. As for kind of a story or a real world case for this, is that it's like you had, again, finance industry, a multinational company, CFO sends them a meeting invite, and it was not from the CFO. Joined the meeting, and he thought he was in a video call with the CFO and several other finance workers. I think that was one of the things that got glossed over when people were talking about the story, is that it wasn't just a direct one-on-one. You were in like a boardroom of fake people, but you were the only real person on that call. So he was asked to make 15 separate wire transfers. Again, like video call, conference, boardroom, bunch of executives going, hey, make these transfers, and it added up to $25.6 million. So brief news reminder, and you go, okay, so this is a risk. What are some ways to detect it? There are some tools that are out there for like the video AI detection. So this is leveraging some digital forensics techniques. They do like that website and the social media authentication. So you have the scanner at deepware, and in order to get up and running. But I had this example here of like just somebody made a deep fake of Tom Cruise, and that was able to be detected through the tools. So for the one I did of our CEO, how did that do? Well, that was detected as a deep fake as well. So it went through all 42 seconds of the video, and it said, deep fake detected. One of the models had it as, 99% certainty. I think what's concerning is that some of the other models had it at like 23%, 1%, and 6%. So it's like some of these detection models are being fooled by this as well. So again, just as the game continues to change, and these are again, real world examples to where you're not just going to your leadership and saying, hey, So here are all these things that the adversaries are doing, like kind of equipping you with some tools to where you can show them, like, this is how it can be done. You know, show your decision leaders with authorization, get your boss to agree to just let you clone someone's voice and say, like, this is how easy it is to do. Can we get some attention onto this?
So what are they actually looking for in these images? Is it like a histogram where they should see more randomness in it, or more?
I think they see like some of the glitches on this one. If I had if I had it for played, one of the things that it does is that, like, at the top edge for her eyebrows and her eyelashes, it starts to blur as it encounters the top edge of the frame. So that's one of the things that I was like, well, I can't really like do much of anything with that, because that was just like from the source video, like the the source video from my colleague had it like basically cut off, so I didn't have the full head in frame for whatever reason. So I was like, well, either go back to the drawing board and start over, or go, this is good enough for like the demo purposes, because it was really just for proof positive, again, to leadership, the CEO, saying like, hey, this is, the CEO saw this video of her and kind of understood like the threats that are out there, and the needed attention onto it. Any other questions thus far?
Did
Yeah.
you test the like lower quality video, like artifacts you could get off of a Zoom call or something, where everybody would think?
So what was that again? What did
So
detect?
like if you generated a video, was it still picking it up? Did you modify the video at all to account for, like, if you sent it through Zoom and OBS, like you could lose some quality with that?
I did not do that, but that was one of the things that I thought of, like when I would go to present this, is just have some of those video artifacts that are just part of when you broadcast this over Zoom or over OBS, that you just have some of those artifacts, and that may be why some of these other models aren't necessarily detecting that, because they go, okay, so it blurs a little bit at the outer edges of it. That might be something that normally happens on a Zoom call, Teams call, anyways. Kind of the final stretch of stuff here. So attack simulations, when you're talking about like being able to have that informed information that you deliver to the managers, or decision makers and your managers. This is one of the products that I've used, so I know we're not in a real like product heavy thing. I'm just using this from a perspective of threat intelligence. So there's a tool out there called Picus that does a breach and attack simulation. So it can reinforce those security layers, make sure that your stuff is working correctly. It meshes very well with your cyber threat intelligence. And it proves that stuff is working as you expect, or kind of the opposite of it is that it is real good at letting you know when somebody made a misconfiguration change, especially if you have these things scheduled these tests to run twice a week. Somebody makes a change to like the mail filters, and suddenly your tests go from like having 98% stoppage to 23% stoppage. You go, hey, wait a minute, what changed in the past 3 days? And you can go back and do that, versus I've been in this position, I think a lot of other people have been in this position, to where you go, something was broken, the last time we tested this was a year ago. What changed in this past year? Who did what in the past year that opened this up? So it gives some of that information, some of that intelligence as well. You'll see here that you have the list of different. I think this came out a little bit different, but you have all of the different like threat intelligence and threat templates that you can. Goals rationalization for really whatever your goals are, but you have all the different threat actors here for your threat intelligence. And in showing an example, there you go. It's like, okay, so you have Ransom Hub. A lot of organizations dealing with Ransom Hub, and it pops up, on a lot of intelligence feeds as well, saying, hey, be on the lookout for Ransom Hub. Here's another one impacted by it. So you can filter onto that, get a list of all like the things that you can test for Ransom Hub. So for like so you have the different like email infiltrations, you have the network infiltration, web applications as well. So you can set those up, run those tests against it. One of the reasons this is valuable for cyber threat intelligence is you can just do something like this, where you go, okay, August 29th, CISA sends out like an alert about Ransom Hub. That goes out, your leadership sees it, your CISO sees that, but now you have this that you can deliver. You can say, hey, I've been testing against Ransom Hub. It's been blocked. I've been testing against that on the 10th, the 14th, 21st, the 28th, and the 4th. So when this report comes out on the 29th, you go, yeah, we already got it. We're solid. You can deliver a report like that, or where I say you can get a hole in the defenses for the past 2 months. When somebody comes to you saying, hey, there was a report put out by CISA about Ransom Hub, you go, oh, yeah, here's a hole that we need to fix. Now that I have your attention, and now that you're concerned about Ransom Hub, here's something that we should get somebody to fix. I've been trying to get, our other teams to fix this for 2 months. Now that you have their attention, you have like that distinct thing that you can say, here's the signatures that you need to apply, here's the filters you need to apply, here's all the detections that need to apply. So again, valued, the processed information delivered to the stakeholders at the right time. The people who can do something about it. For fixing what's missed, this is also one of the things where you go, okay, well, what if I miss things here? Just kind of cut it off, but you see one where it's like the detection goes, okay, wasn't necessarily detected for like the curb roasting with the Roibus tool, and you go, okay, well, Picus has like a little like CrowdStrike rule that you can load in, and it's even they make it easy. You just hit that deploy query button, puts it into CrowdStrike. It's disabled when it goes in there, so then you can just make the adjustments. One of the adjustments that I do is CrowdStrike does not want you to put in custom IOCs that are anything other than informational because it wrecks their SLA. So I just rename them for like the rule name. I just have like the number, you don't see it here, but it goes number, Picus, and then it says the severity level. And I can create filters and workflows for that so that for us, I'm told that, hey, something that is not Picus triggered this thing. Somebody's running Roibus detection tool that's not Picus, set up the alerts and set up the detection. They also have Splunk rules, firewall signatures, so you're sort of like, okay, it's missing on the detection, then missing on the blocking. What do we need to do to catch this? It'll have some recommendations in there. Here's kind of an example of results where you go, it's like, okay, and I'm kind of calling this out a little bit because you go, okay, all of them were blocked, but some of the objectives, basically like some of the little like sub things that they were able to do, the adversary was still able to achieve, but the overall item was prevented. Well, what does that mean? Well, this is an example where it goes, it's like, okay, well, there are no alerts on somebody trying to find files that were and extensions updated in the last 30 days. In this action, they're just trying to find PDF documents and XLS files. No big deal. So it's one of the things to where, according to that, according to a lot of things, it's not necessarily malicious, that it can be like a common part of the operating system. However, you kind of want to alert on this because who really uses 4 files in order to search files? IT has a use for it. So you can still, deploy that query and go, not necessarily something that we want to block. There may be a legitimate use for it, but it's something that you want to detect on, get all those like reconnaissance activities stacked up, and then you kind of have like an overview of the items that, again, are missed. And, when I was taking the information from this, I go, it's like, okay, these are newly, rising to the top. Not really, really there are Palo Alto signatures that I can just grab and deploy. And then this is also something that makes a good use case when you're going, why am I using up the network team's time? You're going, these are some of the top threats that we're seeing. You can also reinforce this with, CrowdStrike intelligence, recorded future intelligence. You can reinforce that saying, these are the guys that are coming at us right now. We're not as strong against it as we should be. Here are some signatures. Can you just deploy them? Like, you're making their job easy and you're giving them a reason for like their time being used up. And that'll put you in a great position for helping out your industry. So final things for like the takeaways are having something to go back to the stakeholders, go back to your employers with. Have a kind of a list of them, and these are in like the printout that I have. But again, seeing that like the landscape's evolving, AI is changing up a lot of things. Behavioral analysis is also key. because the traditional red flags that you see in the phishing emails, bad grammar, bad spelling, those types of traditional red flags that your vendors for the phishing campaigns like to sell you on, those aren't coming through anymore. You want to, again, have that actionable insights into the workflows, invest in the tools and training. So for like, I had the privilege of hearing Frank Abagnale talk in person, and he said, like, for social engineering, like, the best counter to social engineering is user education. So you have to invest in those, is that user education, kind of the things that I'm doing here, that you're going to take back to your teams, and you provide that education as well. But you have, some of those simulation platforms, you have, training to recognize the emerging threats, adapting to social engineering, kind of get all your teams involved, because as you saw with like the job applications with like foreign adversaries trying to apply for jobs, that's something that you need to make sure that you're working with your HR teams with. That information security doesn't just live in its own little silo. Leveraging the tools and the links in the PDFs, use some of the curated resources, and also this helps you be like proactive instead of reactive. I think really just kind of also in conclusion here, whether I'm just kind of getting into that free form and Q&A, I kind of went into this and I thought of like just a few things. If this entire talk is stuff that you've already seen and you've already heard about and you already know about, awesome. I'm glad to have you on the battlefield. If you didn't know this stuff, but now you're informed, now this all makes sense to you, awesome. I'm glad to have you on the battlefield. If you've gone through this entire presentation and you still have questions and some stuff is just befuddling you, great, ask me some questions, but still awesome, and I'm glad to have you on the battlefield. Like, we need everyone. So with that said, I'm going to put a PDF of the resources in here, so if there are any links, tools, details that you would like to see, some of the takeaways are written up. This is my contact information, and now I'm here to answer all of the questions. Do we have any? Yes.
Most of the tools you showed, at least from what we saw from the screenshots, they seem to be pretty easily graspable, I guess, if that's the word, by non-technical audiences as well. Would that be true, or were there some other things that you had communicated to that presentation level?
So I would say that, like, from a non-technical perspective, it's easy to start using. So it's easy to start, difficult to master. So if you go, okay, I want to just like create an audio clone of somebody, cool, you can do that. Like you saw that I got something that was okay-ish within 5 minutes, and that was, I mean, you didn't see me hitting any levers or tripping anything else out. The same thing with like the deep fakes. You can do it quickly without any technical things, and then a lot of it is sliders that maybe there's not a whole lot of documentation for, so you go, well, what does this do? And with it being, again, like a 5-minute generation, now that was with, I had like a 3070 GPU in my machine. That works. Don't run this on your work laptop with integrated graphics, or you're going to like press go, and it's going to be like, yeah, this will be ready in like 2 days. But if you're able to do like iterations every 5 minutes, you just adjust a slider, and then you go, oh wow, that came out horribly. Let's not do that. Take the notes. Do the take notes on what worked, what didn't work, and then you'll probably end up having better documentation than on GitHub if you just kind of keep track of your successes. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to fully harness the GPU. So sometimes you just need to do a little bit of adjustment that you'll like start it up and go, why is it only using like a third of the GPU power that is available? And sometimes you need to do some tinkering. My experience with that is, crazily enough, ChatGPT will help you with the settings. If you just go like, let me ask AI how to use AI to clone somebody, you go, it's like, okay, what do I need to adjust? Like, this isn't, the eyebrows aren't quite right. It's like, oh, well, just adjust this. And it's like, would you like me to write the Python for you to adjust this? It's like, why, yes, I would. Awesome. So it gives a little bit of details there, but doesn't have a huge technical threshold, to do, to get started on.
I wanted to ask about the North Korean job applicants.
Yeah.
I've sort of had two. One of them is, are they primarily motivated by the financial benefit of working for a U.S. company, or are they primarily motivated by espionage? Like, what is their goal?
For us, espionage
Okay.
is what we're finding as the goal, because, like, again, if you get in, you can disrupt the ability to move money across. That, like, McDonald's can't buy pork for their McRibs all of a sudden because, like, their dashboard is compromised. That's a big problem. Amazon goes, hey, I want to move money from here to there, and it doesn't happen. That's a problem. Like, I will tell you that it's like these companies, like, if it's anything more than like 10 minutes that they can't see their money, they get pretty upset about it. So, because they're like, well, I mean, I could say, like, CrowdStrike incident, CrowdStrike global outage. You go, okay, everything's going outage. I might need to move some money around, sell some stocks maybe. Oh, wait, I can't because this thing is broken. For, even a small amount of time, like less than an hour is broken, they still flip out. But it's sort of that's an instance where it's like, yeah, you and everybody else, like, can't do their business that they want to do. So for a threat, where can they siphon any of that off as well?
Yeah, and that sort of takes me to the second part of the question, thinking about us just having hired someone and hearing that we had 200 applications for the position because our HR director is now using Indeed and LinkedIn. Concern is more about people wanting H-1B and not being upfront about the real status there. I don't want to talk to her about this. If we, a very small business in Madison, less than 50 people, even though it's true, it kind of makes you sound like you're crazy.
Yeah, and it may also be just for, like, funneling money as well.
Yeah.
So
I suppose my question is, how widespread is it? Do we have a sense of that? Like, hearing that you're getting 1 to 2 a week makes me wonder, hey, are we getting 1 to 2 in each of our pools?
yeah, I mean, I think you might be, but there's there's also the that's where I kind of equip you with the IP ranges that are there, that you go, okay, if your HR teams, different internal teams are kind of up on this is a possibility. So if it seems funny, look into it a little bit more. You can apply some of those technical controls and going, okay, are we seeing traffic coming from Astral VPN? If you're not, cool, then you're probably one of those, again, those smaller companies where it's like nobody's bothering to apply and work for us, but just having that knowledge that it's out there and not necessarily like a fantasy. And then that was kind of the crux of a lot of the things that I was talking about, is that it's no longer just this make-believe thing that goes, oh, this is an extreme edge. Don't go running to your leadership with your hair on fire. But just having that, like, these are evolved, so we kind of need to step up our game too.
Well, and to the point of having threat intelligence, it's to know what sectors are getting hit more than
Yeah.
others. Finance is always going to be a very juicy target compared to agriculture, because the North Koreans don't necessarily care about the money that comes from agriculture. So, I mean, that's a different story, but logistics come in at that point. But yeah, that's so, knowing that financial sector is being hit and it's being hit heavily by them, that plays into your outcomes as well. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I see, like, with the different tools of, like, Recorded Future, CrowdStrike, even Picus, is that it can be tailored for, like, what is your industry, and it's not going to bring up the ones that go, okay, if you are in the natural gas sector is being hit by this stuff. Well, that's not going to float to the top of the things that I need to test again. There may be a lot of overlap, and I happen to test against it anyways, but I'm not going to be screaming about, like, hey, we're vulnerable to these people. But it helps for also staying ahead of, like, the news. Like, another report that I did recently was Syria fell. Okay, well, you have the Syrian Electronic Army. Like, their tools might start being distributed, and you might start seeing those sold to others that are indiscriminate with where they use them. Cool. I'm going to just run some tests against the tools that I know SEA uses and go, okay, cool, we're defending against them. So even with this recent development, I can say, hey, we got ahead of it. Others?
So I was really interested in the phishing example you had at the beginning, because never seemed like a really good phishing attack like that. It seems like it makes it a lot harder for like a regular user to figure out this is dangerous.
Yeah.
So is the answer there for you to just, train users better? Is that like the most important thing for you, is to train users better, to know that that's a possibility? Or
And I would say like, start training the users better, because, it really did play on that established trust. So a little bit of healthy paranoia would help, but then also you can't just go and say, here's, that it didn't make any spelling errors, it must be legit, or it didn't have anything that, or the website looks legit, I'm going to trust it. But you have a little bit more of, asking your users to, kind of apply a little bit more knowledge and awareness.
Yeah, to follow that up, users generally latch on to the lowest, they use the minimum requirements as the requirements. So like, for example, for phishing attacks, if you use that, the idea is, oh, there's misspellings, it must be a fish. So the idea would be, I would imagine, I'm not necessarily in that sphere, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea would be okay, let's try to find a new thing for them to latch onto that's significantly harder to. So for example, I would probably say, okay, look at WebEx client, is that a real thing, or is like the real email WebEx or something like that?
Or even better, like, it's my job to run these things down. Like, please ask me. Like, I do not necessarily need for, to turn all of my, the fellow employees, all of my colleagues into like deep investigative people that I go, you know what, like, fine, send me stuff. Like, I've had previous employers to where it's like somebody would just like, it seemed like they even just had a forwarding rule, and like every external email that came in went to the phishing mailbox. And you go, okay, here they are. It's like, I'm supposed to review like the 20 emails he got this morning also. But you know what? Like, I would much rather do that than go, oh, why are domain controllers showing a red screen with a skull on it? That is not something that I want to. I would much rather go through like the guy's like 20 emails every day. But you're also right with like, our users can keep up, and if you just start raising that threshold and saying like, well, we're not going to just put them into easy mode going, oh, well, here's an email from Microsoft where like their company logo has the name wrong, and it's like, no, like that doesn't happen anymore. It's like I can't remember the last time that I saw like a phishing email where they used like an Amazon logo and didn't have Amazon spelled correctly.
On the user control side of stuff, one of the places I worked previously, they had to like make it easy for users, it's like a no forward policy for either phone calls, emails. Like, it's not for the person, it's for, you don't transfer it. It's just, they don't have to think about it. You have to call, you have to reach out to them. Like,
Yeah.